Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting of June 9th, 2022. First on the agenda is Delamita, 26 Glenview Drive, open for a public hearing. Mike?
It's on for public hearing. All my comments have been addressed.
And Rich?
Ditto, Mr. Chairman.
And Pat?
I have no issues on this, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone from the public like to be heard on this? The only thing I'll remind the applicants, we've discussed this before, and it's really about the engineering of the regrading, Rich, and just as long as it's not affecting any of your neighbors, and obviously there's none out tonight, so I don't assume it is, but just, be cognizant of that, as you've mentioned before.
Absolutely.
Any other comments from any of the board members? If not, we need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pat, will you prepare a resolution? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Do we get tomatoes out of it?
Next on the agenda is Suez Water, London Bridge Wells, 39 Brook Street. Also on for a public hearing. I don't believe Mike, Rich, or Pat had any comments. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's on for public hearing. That's all I was going
Yep.
to say.
The only comment I have is if you're going to have a resolution, they need to give us the engineering fee and performance bond amounts before we sign that, or at least want to get that number included in the bond, in the resolution, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from the public wish to be heard on this? I'm sorry, you need to come up, state your name and speak into the microphone so people on TV can hear.
Ryan Biddle. I neighbor the property. I'm just, they came in and cut a bunch of trees, opened up a lot of things. Just wondering how much further they're coming towards our property, That's my only question.
Which side are you on?
Right side, 51.
If you're looking at the building to the right there?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've all driven out there, but that's
Yeah.
an excellent question, and I'd like to hear how it's addressed. One of the reasons why we've kicked this around so many times is exactly that, for the neighbors, right? Technically, they've done a very good job, they're set technically. We challenged this several times for trees, height of trees, colors, landscaping. One of their obligations is to satisfy the neighbors, and that's why we're here tonight. So, would you please explain to this gentleman how you're gonna landscape it? And let's answer specifically, are there any more trees gonna be cut down? And then just take us through the landscaping a little bit, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Thank you.
Good evening. Ramya Ramanathan, Planning Analyst with Adzel Nasher and Ziegler, representing Suez Water, New York. Good evening. So we had a tree clearing permit window, which is why you might have noticed the trees were cut down. We had a timeline till March 31st, which is why that had to happen before, and we owe the ECB for that. So that's the reason the trees were cut down initially. And I can show you the landscape plan right here, and we have the architect with the renderings that might help address some of your concerns further.
You can come up and join if you'd like to get a better look at the plan, please.
This is the site. Everything here that you see is proposed landscaping. We're proposing a combination of green giants, cedars, and hollies. So we've tried to landscape it as much as possible. This is the blown-up version of the entrance portion. So as you can see, we've tried to give it as much as possible. So we're cognizant of the fact that we're close to the road and there's going to be a lot of visibility. We would be happy to push it back, but we have some constraints on the site as pertains to wetlands. I can see right here. So we have to maintain some distance from that, which is why we've located the building where it is. But we're trying our best to landscape it. No, so the building is right there. That's where the proposed building is going to be.
I'm sorry, if you're going to speak, just for the people on TV.
Yeah, so it's just going to be behind where the existing.
Yes, so
water
the
shed is.
existing is right here. That's the spring
Okay.
house, and that is the proposed building.
Okay.
And for the new building, it's about 22 feet in height. We're going to give as much as landscaping as possible, and we have the renderings with us if you'd like to see that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
And
so
we're
much.
going to ask, they have been asked to maintain this in the future, not just plant them, and if they die, they'll replace them, and
Yes.
Yeah, no.
they're going to maintain the property.
I just didn't want them to come any further, with the cutting the trees down, it kind of takes my privacy away.
It's a good question, very valid question, and we expect them, the Suez, to be good neighbors to
Yep.
you. You're going to get better water quality,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now you just need to have good landscaping, so.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any questions from the board here? I know we've looked at this several different ways. If not, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Pat, would you also prepare a resolution? As Rich commented on, they'll have to get the engineering fee straight before they sign on that
The performance bond information.
performance bond.
Certainly.
You got me the lot depth on that one, correct?
Yes.
And it met the 200 feet?
Yes.
Okay. and
We
just
got it for all the sites.
I saw it, I was out
Yeah,
for a
no,
couple days.
we're
so
good
I
there,
just want to make sure it
yes.
was the right one. Thank you.
Third on the agenda is Suez Water, Guymer Wells, 70 Guymer Drive, also on for a public hearing. Mike, Rich, Pat, I believe you've had no comments.
No comment.
Any,
Same thing with the performance bond and engineering fee. They need to have those numbers developed for us and approved so they can get included as part of the resolution, Mr. Chairman.
No problem.
anyone from the public wish to be heard on this? As a reminder to the board, this is the one that's set way back into the woods. I wasn't really expecting many neighbors into that. If not, can we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everyone.
Me too.
Thank you. Thanks for all the due diligence.
Oh.
I know we've worked you pretty hard on this, but it's the right thing. I know you'll be back, so thank you. Nice
Thank you so
job.
much.
Yes, please, Pat. Mike, how am I doing? Okay, on schedule?
You just wasted a few valuable seconds there, though, so you were doing good until you asked.
Spoke too soon. Next on the agenda is John Regan, 1651 Route 6, residential site plan. Mike, I believe you had some comments.
Yeah, provide measurements of the rooms, just rough measurements. I just need a little bit of something to go by for the units to make sure that they all comply with the requirements. Provide elevations of the building, and you're missing the number of employees and the easement information for the funeral home. Provide the easement for council to review.
Rich?
No site improvements are proposed for this project. This department does not have any additional comments. The applicant has addressed them already, so as long as there are no changes being made to the site, engineering department's good.
And Pat?
So, Mr. Chairman, if you remember, this application required a use variance, which the applicant obtained in May. That was the big hurdle for this application. There was, if you remember, a large paved parking area on the site, but the parking spaces weren't identified. Joel's updated the plan. They're on the plan. They're dimensionally compliant, so they have shown their parking requirement. The biggest issue with respect to this is we are legalizing a third apartment in the building. The building department needs to make sure that it is code compliant, meets the building code, fire code. That's a primary issue. We shouldn't approve this if it's an illegal apartment, if it's not constructed properly.
Same notes I have right here.
So significant
in front of
issue
me,
needs
yeah.
to be confirmed. And Mike mentioned the easement that's required for the driveway that crosses the property. We do need that easement, Joel.
Before I turn over the board, let's see here. Joel, I think there was two things, if I just summarize Pat's, is the easements needed, and since that third apartment was added, is that code compliant?
Okay, to answer that question, Mike mentioned to me about these two items. Also, I do have, which I can give to the town attorney, I have the information regarding the easements that Mike requested. We do have the dimensions of all the rooms now, and we also have the elevations of the building, as Mike requested, so.
Were they submitted, or they just brought
No,
it tonight?
I just found this out today, so I worked all my, so if you could set the public hearing, the
Oh.
drawings are all ready.
We haven't even spoken yet.
Oh, excuse me.
So I don't know about the board, but, so you have the easement that was submitted, or it just wasn't submitted yet?
No, I just found out about it today.
So Joe, do you review easements, or? Yes. Okay, so you haven't seen this yet then either? Okay. And Mike, do we know if that third-story apartment has been reviewed for code? I mean, is it fire, who needs to
That will
review?
not be until after they get the approval. That's a separate approval. What I'm looking for is just the measurements of the rooms, so I can see that it's at least meets that requirement. But then we'll get into windows and smoke detectors and all that. That's later on.
Oh,
That's the next
that's
step
where-
after they get approval.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I would suggest is if Joel can make the representation that he's committing to you that it's code compliant, then you can base an approval as a condition for Mike to confirm that after the fact. Again, my point is, you wouldn't approve something if it's not going to meet the code. So if Joel is a licensed architect, he can make that representation. Mike can confirm as a condition of approval.
But we're still missing a few general items that are required. Elevations and number of employees isn't on there.
And the
Yeah.
dimensions, yeah.
Again, Mike mentioned those things, so I have those drawings which can be submitted tomorrow, so it'll be well in advance of the public hearing.
Well, we can put you on the agenda in 2 weeks for a public hearing.
And if we don't get the material, we can-
Conditionally, if Mike doesn't have, if Mike doesn't get the data he needs, and Joe's not satisfied with the easement, then no public hearing. We won't put the public hearing on the agenda.
Fair
So
enough.
I think I want to make sure we check off all these boxes here. If we check them off, we'll proceed with the public hearing. If, I'll be in the office ahead of time, reviewing with Pat and Rose and Mike and Rich. And if all the i's aren't dotted and t's crossed, then no public hearing, we'll just have a, all right? That sound reasonable, Joe? Mike? Rich?
Fine by me, I had no
Pat?
comments, so.
Yeah. Any other questions from the board on this? Joe, I know this is going back a minute, but you know, when I read this, can you just explain how this all transpired? Because when I read it, it said, a use variance was granted January 2nd, 1996, to allow the continuation of a two-family dwelling. In January 1997, the planning board approved the site plan for one-story addition over, so you add another one. So we're going back now to get the approvals.
What happened was, is you read correctly, this was approved by the planning board and also a variance from the zoning board way back.
Well, this being the two-story, right? And then the addition, but the addition turned into an apartment.
No. The addition was, the addition was added on, as you say, from that, what you just read. But instead of making it 2 apartments, the previous owner, not Mr. Reagan, made it 3 apartments. And he bought the property, how many years ago? So this was obviously 12 years ago, so this was after the apartment, the previous owner had put the apartment in. And then the whole situation of the fact that this apartment was never approved came up. We came before this board a couple of months ago. You sent us to the zoning board to get a use variance, and we proved the need for the use variance, and that's where it is now.
So that helps. That helps. When you bought it, it was rated a 3-family, so you're now going back and,
Right. So we're just trying to legalize what the previous owner had done.
John, any comments?
No, sir.
Bob?
No, sir.
Vicky?
No.
All right, so we'll move this forward conditionally that you meet the consultants.
Okay, no problem, absolutely not.
Craig, just to clear it up, the previous variance was for the mixed use with the 2-family.
Oh, say it again?
The previous variance, the first variance that was granted was because it was 2 families over a commercial.
Right, over an office, that's
agency or
correct.
whatever it is. Then it becomes 3, so now they expanded a non-conforming further.
And this is in a commercial zone, that's why this is.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm
Well,
just
either way
trying
with the
to,
mixed use.
Yes,
this goes back over 20 years, I'm just trying to put the
Correct.
pieces
yeah,
together.
I don't know, what's the date on that variance that you read?
Well, this goes back to 1996,
Wow,
you know, so.
28 years, 26
it's a
years.
long time ago.
All right, so,
Okay, so we will get all the
We'll schedule a
information.
public hearing if you're ready for it.
You got it.
If not, we won't. Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I just mention what we talked about before or not?
No, it's not even on the agenda, Joe. No. Thank you. You can stop in and talk to Rich and Mike and Pat, you know, separately, but not during this.
Yeah,
this
just
agenda.
get it over to Joe for a review. Once it's reviewed and approved, then we'll sign it and we'll call Craig to get over and sign it.
It's just not, you know. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.